hunt continues for the assassin who gunned down the CEO of United Healthcare on Wednesday. And it really says something about America that a guy was murdered in cold blood, and the two main reactions were, yeah, well, healthcare stinks. And also, girl, that shooter hot.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would laugh at that. That's not particularly funny. Another sign of a sick culture. True. It's the old line, that's not funny, that's true. Yeah, the main reactions, and all from Democrats, because it's a great big circle fest out there. Happy Monday to you, and welcome. We remain at 888-630-9625. So many remarkable things occurred over the weekend. President Trump's big interview with Face the Meat yesterday on NBC Fake News, where they covered the waterfront, not because there was good journalism going on. It was Democrat Party stuff all the way to the hilt. Remarkable stuff. And, of course, Syria. We had major developments in the Middle East because the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad, a medical doctor, by the way, his brother was supposed to take over the country, but that didn't work out. So he went to medical school, and then, he had to take over the country from his dad. You know, kind of like Congresswoman Debbie Dingell had to take over the House seat from her husband, John Dingell, who is now the late John Dingell. So naturally, like we do in third world countries, the Democrats just give the seat to closest relative. You know, it's like the Philippines or something. But never mind that. In any case, Bashar al-Assad not dead. He fled the country. He's apparently in Moscow, definitely in Russia, where he's being given asylum and will be able to live out his days with his family. Fled the country with him to Russia, welcomed with open arms by Vlad the Impaler Putin because, you know, the bad guys of the world unite. Iran backing Bashar al-Assad, Russia backing Bashar al-Assad. If they needed help from North Korea, I'm sure they'd get it. They've got ISIS and al-Qaeda affiliates up the yin-yang in Syria who will invariably end up in charge of the country, just by the way. But we'll get into that. And there's been a civil war going on in Syria for years now. And the Democrats, they can't sleep at night because dozens of Palestinian terrorists have been killed by Israel, and the Jews must be slain. We must wipe out Israel from the river to the sea because it's so terrible what's going on. Oh, no, 40,000 Palestinians have allegedly, according to the Palestinians, been killed because they started a war with Israel, which is much more powerful and much more civilized. But never mind that. 40,000 people. Well, the Syrian civil war has taken the lives of 470,000 or 610,000 Syrians, and there's not a Democrat in the country, in the United States, that cares about that at all. So the Syrian civil war ongoing, and maybe more than 600,000 human beings killed in that civil war, being driven by Islamists, many of them being assisted by Iran, many of them being assisted by Russia, because it's the Middle East, baby. Know what I'm talking about? So the remarkable thing, the Civil War, the 2011, yada, yada, maybe 610,000 people. And by the way, that means that it is the second deadliest civil war ongoing on the planet Earth today, because the deadliest civil war going on the planet Earth today is what? Anybody? Raise your hand. Huh? Over there? Nobody? Congo. And they're not doing a Congo line over there. That's the deadliest civil war in the world, but it's in Africa. Joe Biden went to Angola last week. That's in Africa, too, but he fell asleep mostly in the middle of the conference with Joe Biden's brain is not a very good brain. But the The Syrian civil war. And now who will take over? That's a really good question because nobody knows. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Isn't that remarkable? And here's a crazy story. I did this on my television show on Newsmax on Friday night. Quite remarkable. Canada, they got a lot of lefties in Canada. No statehood for them. We'll just give them to Russia. Maybe Russia would like Canada. They could be the biggest wheat field in the Russian Empire. That'd be great. But Canada likes banning guns, and Canada has banned a lot of guns. They already have banned a lot of guns, and now they've got lefties there that are looking to ban even more guns because, they're lefties and they don't like individual liberties and independence and all of that stuff. But Canada is looking now to outlaw another 324 types of firearms, 324. They've already banned more than 2,000 different guns, specific firearms, right? You can't have this 9mm pistol. You can't have this rifle. And they've banned more than 2,000 models already. Now the lefties, they're outlawing another 324 varieties of firearms, right? And you know what they want to do? This is kind of an amazing story. Because there are libs there, they're demanding that these guns be confiscated. They're calling it a buyback, but it's not a buyback because the government of Canada didn't sell these people the guns. You're not buying them back. You're putting a government gun to their head and saying, give me your firearms, and we'll give you whatever amount of money we deem is appropriate. That's gangsterism. That's a shakedown. That's authoritarianism, in the name of liberalism, of course. But after banning more than 2,000 different guns, they actually got busy outlawing another 324 varieties, and they're demanding that the firearms be turned in, and the government will tell you how much they're worth, and they'll give you that amount of money, allegedly. And you know what the lefties there want to do with the firearms that they confiscate? They want to send them to Ukraine. They want to send the guns to Ukraine. Isn't that amazing? Every bit of assistance we can offer to the Ukrainians is one step toward their victory. Really? Are there peace talks going on anywhere? You think Ukraine's going to roll tanks into Red Square and take over St. Basil's there with tanks and declare victory, take over the Kremlin, the defense ministry? You think that's going to happen? You people are ridiculous. Man, oh man. So they got that going. That's your Canadians. So we've got that. Crazy, man. Now, I mentioned a few minutes ago, I've got news about Guyana, which is a beeple country in South America. It's a northern South America along the northern yada yada, the Caribbean Sea, the Gulf, all that stuff. But here's the CNN story. Guyana now I guess I need a little more background than this, because Guyana became known many years ago for one thing and one thing only, and that was the mass suicide of more than 900 people from San Francisco and Oakland that wanted a socialist utopia. So they followed a radical socialist lunatic named Jim Jones, who called himself a reverend and created his own church, the People's Temple. And the People's Temple felt that they were being victimized in California, in Oakland and San Francisco. So they said, hey, we're moving to Guyana in South America, where we're going to set up camp, and it's going to be socialist utopia. And almost everybody's black. That was part, except Jim Jones, who was white. He's dead. But Jim Jones was white. Almost everybody, members of the People's Temple, black, from Oakland, from San Francisco, from Northern California. They all moved to Guyana. And then a Democrat congressman from Northern California went down there because some people were saying, hey, this is getting weird down there. So Leo Ryan, Democrat congressman, California, went down there with an NBC News TV camera crew. And they were all murdered by almost all of them were murdered, the congressman was. And others were. And a guy that I used to know, I haven't seen him in years, Steve Sung was the NBC cameraman there, and he was shot through the arm, taken for dead by the lunatic socialists building their utopia. And And then everybody lined up for the Kool-Aid, and it wasn't Kool-Aid brand Kool-Aid. It was store brand Kool-Aid. It wasn't even the real, but Kool-Aid took the rap for it. The Kool-Aid Corporation wrongly took the rap, right? And they're still, it's drinking the Kool-Aid. That's where that term comes from. That turn of phrase comes from. Is more than 900 people committed suicide lining up for the Kool-Aid and all that stuff. And many of them were murdered, as it turned out later, because they didn't want to commit suicide. They just wanted socialism, But here's the CNN story today. Guyana considers making Jonestown a tourist attraction. You can go visit. You can go visit the tour. That's like 900 people. Let me see. That's, I don't know how many people were murdered in Chicago last year, because I think if you add Chicago and Baltimore, is greater than the number Guyana. And this was a socialist utopia that they were building. Guyana considers making Jonestown a tourist attraction. Isn't that amazing? It was a cult compound where more than 900 people died. Now it might become a tourist attraction. These are the headlines today because, the left. This is still about the left, isn't it? Yes, it is. And the people at Bundle saying Guyana is revisiting a dark history nearly a half century after U.S. Reverend Jim Jones and more than 900 of his followers died in the rural interior of the South American country. Yeah, sure. That's what happened. It was the largest suicide murder in recent history. In recent history, you got to go back a little further if you want bigger ones. And a government-backed tour operator wants to open the former commune, now shrouded by lush vegetation, to visitors. A proposal that is reopening old wounds. Why, Guyana shouldn't care about it. They didn't really do anything wrong at all. With critics saying it would disrespect victims and dig up a sordid past. Are they buried there? Would you really have to dig them up? Got that thing there. Jordan Vilches, who grew up in California and was moved to the People's Temple commune at the age of 14, told the Associated Press in a phone interview from the United States that he has mixed feelings about the tour. He's got mixed feelings because he's still looking for utopia. Wah. Isn't that amazing? Sorry, Jordan is a she. She was in the Guyana capital the day that Jones ordered hundreds of his followers to drink a poison grape-flavored drink. See, not Kool-Aid brand Kool-Aid. Was given to the children first. Well, it's just a very late-term abortion, Her 2 sisters and 2 nephews were among the victims. Sure. I just missed dying by 1 day, she recalled. Vilches, now 67 years old, said Guyana has every right to profit from any plans related to Jonestown. That's true. So they are talking about making it a tourist attraction, which is a good idea. That's kind of fun, I think. There's a fun story out of India, too. India, the empire. A startup company in India, they gave the employees a quiz. Gave them a quiz, and it was kind of a psychological quiz. Now, the headline is, Startup Fires 100 Employees After Fooling Them with Mental Health Survey. They got a mental health survey. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. A Noida-based salon home service startup called Yes Madam is facing criticism for firing around 100 employees. These job cuts affected employees who allegedly admitted to experiencing work-related stress in an internal survey, a corporate survey. And they asked the employees, are you stressed out? One of the questions on the survey is, are you stressed? Does your does work make you stressed? Does it stress you out? And if you answered yes, then they fired you. No more stress. No more stress at work, see? They relieved the employees of the stress of having to come to work. Isn't that amazing? Yep, that's India, the empire. Isn't that amazing? Old friend of mine used to live in India. Now he lives in Sri Lanka. He said India, well, how did he say? They've incorporated the worst elements of capitalism, socialism, and colonialism. and they call it India. Pretty funny. Hey, make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks this Christmas time. The best place to get real money action while you're watching your favorite sports like NFL football. What a weekend. With more than 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all of us. Thank you. The app is really incredibly simple to use. You pick two or more players across any sport. You pick more or less on their projections for your two players. And you could win, listen now, up to 200 times your money. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during what they like to call Prixmas. It's Prixmas, Prize Picks, and it's Pixmas. Pixmas, you got Prize Picks, Pixmas, it's wonderful. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code PLANT, and you're going to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's the code PLANT, P-L-A-N-T-E, on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play only $5. You don't even need to win to receive your $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states where wagering is legal. Visit prizepicks.com for details and restrictions. Yeah, Canada. They're going to confiscate your guns and send them to Ukraine, where they can be put to good use. You know, they call themselves liberals. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. I was talking a little while ago about the Washington Post today. Some of their crazy things. The headline, "The New Election Denialists." And for some on the left, another Trump term is too difficult to accept, so they're choosing not to. And they're talking about how the voters that woke up after Election Day, the vibe shift. They're talking about the vibe shift, the words, the numbers, the vibes, even the stars. And because the vibes are not good, remarkable stuff. And then they've got another story on the front page of the style section where they're talking about the vibes at the Oscars. It's crazy. Let's go. We have very little time, but let's go to Dan calling from Ames, Iowa. Daniel, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, you teed that up perfectly. I just wanted to point out with the lack of masculinity and virility displayed by males in the Democrat Party these days, it's no surprise that Democrat women would be so heavily reliant on vibes.
Now I'm caught up. I see. Yes, the toxic masculinity and all of that. Yeah, in the Washington Post, they're all about vibes. It all makes sense now, Dan.
And they certainly don't put food on the table and pay the mortgage and the rent.
Yes, vibes are not votes. Vibes don't put food on the table or pay the rent, Kellyanne Conway. We're picking up good vibrations. And the Washington Post today, I mentioned the new election denialists. For some on the left, another Trump term is too difficult to accept, so they're choosing not to. A vibe shift, says Tricia Romano at the Washington Post. It's a big vibe shift. Like the QAnon-obsessed insurrectionists who came before them, that's 2 people. They are seeking clues in photos, words, numbers, vibes. And even the stars, they use the word vibes here twice in the first few sentences, and that's on the front page of the style section of the Washington Post. Also on the front page of the style section of the Washington Post today, another headline: presidential election may have reshaped Oscars season. You know, the movies, people, nobody really pays attention to them anymore. They don't really make movies anymore. An occasional political statement, but that's about it. But I was reading this, too, and Jada Yuan, writing in the Washington Post there, and they write there, for the film world, the Monday after Thanksgiving was typically served as the unofficial launch of Oscars season. That's when Hollywood's newest class of rising and already risen stars gather at the chandelier-festooned former bank building of Cipriani Wall Street for the Gotham Awards, which has the vibe of a huge, joyous, artistic family reunion. I was reading that first. I thought maybe it was an autistic family reunion, but maybe it's not. And then I kept reading this. But the Writers Guild strike and the end of the year blockbuster entries of the total vibe shift after the election. And I'm, well, wait a minute. Here we go again. Two stories on the same page on the front page of the style section, and each of them uses vibe twice. And that's because the Democrats were running, and Kamala's campaign said it's all about the joy and the vibe. And that's why Kellyanne Conway was mocking them for using the word vibe all over the place. It's about the vibe. And they had, who did they have, people showing up that didn't sing, like Beyonce, and they're supposed to sing, and they paid them millions of dollars, and then they didn't show up and sing. And then Oprah, they paid her, $1 million or $2 million, and she didn't sing. And then who else did they have? The Reverend Al Sharpton. They paid him $500,000 to do an MSNBC interview, as though they had to pay him to do a softball interview. But it's other people's money. The Democrats, they collect the money in fundraisers and stuff, and then they give the money to their friends because really they're criminals. They're corrupt, very corrupt people. And they know that power is just there to be abused because that's who they are. So it's all about the vibe. Isn't that amazing? Maybe they should go down to Jonestown and have a reunion. It's hard to have a reunion with Jonestown, isn't it? Because really not many left. You can have, family members reunion, but not, isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. All right, so again, Bashar al-Assad flees to Russia as rebels seize Syrian capital, end 50-year dynasty of the Assad family in charge in Syria. Not nice guys, not good guys. But if you think they're the bad guys, where do you find out who's taking over now? And the group, one of the key groups that has taken over and rolled into Damascus, Syria, apparently having received assistance from Barack Obama's administration in the United States of America because, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, only worse. Also, we got lots of illegal alien news because Democrats love crime. The Democrat Party loves murder, mayhem, carjacking, burning police cars. They love arson, and they love illegal aliens doing all kinds of bad things. And I've got an illegal alien update for you, too. Now, after Bashar al-Assad fled, the United States decided to start carrying out airstrikes in Syria. We've got about 900 American troops in Syria right now, by the way. Why, you might ask? Well, killing Muslims because, they form all these radical Islamic terror groups, and the troops have been in there for years and years, and they're fighting, they're collecting intelligence, and then killing Islamists, because there's a world war going on. There are a couple of different world wars going on, as a matter of fact. One of them is against radical Islam. The other is against the left. You got Vlad Putin and Kim Jong-un over here, and you've got every Islamist leader over there. The world is at war, make no mistake about it. But here's the headline from this morning. U.S. strikes 75 ISIS targets in Syria after Assad regime collapses. 75 targets this weekend, really yesterday. 70, we got airstrikes, American airplanes, warplanes, aircraft carrier, ground-based, maybe Israel, maybe Egypt, but probably aircraft carrier-based primarily. 75 ISIS targets in strikes. There are going to be missile strikes as well. Not necessarily all airplanes dropping bombs, but ships firing missiles too, I'm guessing. And isn't that remarkable? So we're bombing the hell out of Syria right now. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It's not on Donald Trump at this point. And Vlad the Impaler Putin has made the decision to grant asylum to Assad and his family because they're on the same side, and that is being anti-civilization, right? Isn't that amazing? And President Trump interviewed on NBC yesterday. I have a CNN article in front of me. I apologize. But President Trump interviewed by Kristen Welker, who is not a journalist at all. And as she saying, hey, Hillary denied the election in 2016, Hillary said Republicans were going to steal the election in 2024. No, that didn't come up. Now, there are illegal alien stories all over the country. And instead of talking about the crimes being committed by the gangs that have been waved into the country by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats, instead, the news media does what the news media does, and that is defends the illegal alien gangs in the country. And Kristen Welker did that yesterday. You're not really going to deport Venezuelan gangs, are you?
Let's talk about mass deportation, one of your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal histories.
Correct.
But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it. And it's a very tough thing to do. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country.
Yeah, that's perfectly fair and true. And here's something that Kristen Welker didn't ask about. Turns out that in Massachusetts, Gesundheit, where they have lots of sanctuary cities like Boston, the DEA and the FBI and this particular raid, FBI was involved, but it was an ICE and DEA operation, and the Department of Justice charged 25 people in a fentanyl trafficking conspiracy in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. 19 of these people were arrested on Thursday in an ICE DEA operation, and Bill Malugin at Fox News has been told by federal law enforcement sources that 14 of the 19 are illegal aliens. 19 arrests in a fentanyl trafficking operation, and now there are more than 70,000 Americans every year that die of fentanyl overdoses. More than 100,000 Americans die every year of fatal drug overdoses, and about 70,000 of those are from fentanyl alone, coming from China through Mexico. And so the ICE and DEA people are out there arresting them, and they arrested 19 people, 14 of them illegal aliens, mostly from the Dominican Republic. Isn't that amazing? And 10 of them were arrested in Boston, which is a sanctuary city. And just last week in Boston, the city council voted 13-0 to declare Boston again to be a sanctuary city. So they love the rape and the murder and the fatal drug overdoses and the cocaine deaths and the fentanyl deaths. Now, as part of this operation by ICE and DEA, 2.3 kilos of fentanyl, which would kill the entire population of Washington, D.C., 12 kilos of what appears to be fentanyl and cocaine. 6 guns were recovered, and the DEA says 1 kilo of fentanyl can potentially kill 500,000 people. 500,000 people. Now, that's just amazing. And the Democrats there, 13-0 on the Boston City Council. oh, yes, let's make sure that we remain a sanctuary city. And here are 14 illegal aliens trafficking in fentanyl and cocaine and other drugs and guns, and the Dominican Republic, and never mind that, 10 of them in Boston, because more Democrats, more murder. More Democrats, more death, more fatal drug overdoses. More Democrats, more gangs from foreign countries. But Kristen Welker doesn't ask about any of that. That doesn't come up. Just, are you really going to deport those poor illegal aliens? And then listen to what President Trump says about dreamers. You know, these are the illegal aliens that came here because their criminal parents brought their kids here, and they came allegedly under the age of 18. And Democrats are like, oh, they have to, move into your house and stay in your daughter's bedroom.
What about dreamers, sir? Dreamers who were brought to this country illegally as children.
What about?
You said once back in 2017, they, quote, shouldn't be very worried about being deported. Should they be worried now?
The dreamers are going to come later, and we have to do something about the dreamers, because these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and many of these are middle-aged people now. They don't even speak the language of their country. And yes, we're going to do something about the dreamers.
What does that mean?
And
what are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan, and if we can come up with a plan, but the Democrats have made it very, very difficult to do anything.
I'll work with the Democrats on a plan. The dreamers who came here as kids. He's sounding like a Democrat on this dreamers thing. You said back in 2017, so they do have access to the Internet. Usually it seems that they don't have access to the Internet. But all the illegal aliens, all the gangs, the rapes, the murders of mothers, of college student women, and the Democrats just shrug. They could care less. They go to Starbucks and buy another $14 coffee or whatever it is they get there. President Trump on the dreamers.
Republicans are very open to the dreamers. The dreamers, we're talking many years ago, they were brought into this country. Many years ago. Some of them are no longer young people. And in many cases, they become successful. They have great jobs. In some cases, they have small businesses. Some cases, they might have large businesses. And we're going to have to do something with them. And
you want them to be able to stay. That's what you're saying.
I do. Okay. I want to be able to work something out. And it should have been able to be worked out over the last 3 or 4 years. And it never got worked out.
Because Joe Biden hasn't done anything as president. He's been the worst president in maybe the history of the country. He's awful. And he showed yesterday that he's brain dead once again. And this is great. And then she asked about NATO. Aren't you going to wreck NATO? You're going to destroy NATO, which he made stronger when he was president for 4 years by making them pony up more money to the common defense, which they had long since committed to do and then failed to follow through with.
Do you commit that the United States will remain a member of NATO while you're in office?
Again, they have to pay their bills. If they pay their bills, absolutely.
But not if they don't pay their bills.
But NATO's taking advantage of us. If they're paying their bills, and if I think they're treating us fairly, the answer is absolutely, I'd stay with NATO.
But if not, you would consider the possibility of
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
He's negotiating. He's convincing them to pay what they had committed to pay. But Kristen Welker doesn't view it that way because, that's there. NATO. Yeah, you made NATO stronger last time. Even the NATO Secretary General said that, and I've played the audio here before of him saying that Euroscandy, Trump made NATO stronger. And if they're paying, but you're, and they try to create this fake, do you commit? I'll commit you. I'll send the FBI to raid your home in a pre-dawn raid. How about that? Like Roger Stone's house. We'll do that. And then we'll see what you have. Do you have any classified documents in your house that were given to you by, More President Trump coming up as well. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally here, and it builds on the incredible success of previous generations, which earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet and became a bestseller right away. The new Thunderstorm, third generation, uses two technologies that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses in the air in the age of the Wuhan. And it removes dust and pet dander and smoke and a whole lot more. Helps get rid of any odor, any smell, and no filters to replace again and again. You can hold an Eden Pure in your hand. They're only this big. It's not a big piece of furniture. The Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell, guaranteed. I'm talking trash cans and odors, smelly shoes, basements, and your mother-in-law's cooking, even left-wing protesters. The smell will be gone in just a few seconds. And right now, you can save $200 American on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for a whole home protection. You can put one in your basement, your teenager's room, where your mother-in-law does the cooking. Any place you'd like to breathe clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. Use the code CHRIS3, C-H-R-I-S, and the number 3 to save $200 on 3 thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Dreamer. Yeah, President Trump saying, the Dreamers, I'll work with the Democrats. Find a way for them to stay. So the Democrats are now just fighting to keep the Venezuelan gang members and the drug traffickers here from wherever they may come. We have more President Trump coming up, talking about the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, and should he be fired? Oh, boy, should he be fired. I'd fire him. Hey, President Trump, let me call him. I'll fire him for you. Let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Frank, calling from Elmwood Park, Illinois, listening on the great WLS. Frank, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris. In my opinion, I think both sides are just getting riled up for nothing. Between, everything Trump has been saying since the beginning of his campaign. He's literally recycling some stuff that he said and he promised back in 2016 that he didn't accomplish. Everything he's saying now, it means nothing until he finally gets in office and he actually does it.
Well, but for the news media, they just want to find something to drive a wedge between Trump and his voters, Trump and the public, right?
Yes and no. I mean, he's the one talking. He doesn't have to answer the way he answers. He just says yes or no, or actually, again, do what you said you're going to do. I mean, remember the whole repeal and replace? He didn't do it. Then they ask him again 8 years later, and what does he say? Oh, I have concepts. So
of Obamacare. You're talking about Obamacare there, repeal and replace. Yep.
And then, so this is all just talk to me. Like, you can talk the talk, but walk the walk. You see what I'm saying? Like,
I do. He was cut off halfway through his 2 terms as president, and he was busy getting a lot of stuff done. He was getting an awful lot done, as you doubtless know. And now he's got another 4 years to do it. And with people in his offices that are not there to undermine him this time around, hopefully, I got to tell you, I'm going to remain optimistic, Frank.